Okay, good morning, everyone. Here, let me do this. Good morning, everyone. This is an update on the in the video format that we have going on with tribal government and leaders. And I'd like to talk to you today briefly about three things. And primarily, take this off. And primarily, there's a initiative on the Secretary Treasurer by the Secretary Treasurer to establish an investment board. And there's a draft bill out there that is being considered, will be considered by the Assembly, and it's been through a draft form, and that's coming around, and that is a primary goal and to achieve by the Secretary Treasurer, myself, during this term, and I'll explain why that's important. Historically, the RBCs, when the band, Lax Band went to the Division of Powers, the Secretary Treasurer was split into to be the head of the legislative branch, okay? And the Chief Executive, which was formerly the Chairman, is the head of the executive branch. And in this configuration, the Secretary of Treasurer, when the lawmaking duties were solidified or given form under the laws of the band, the Secretary of Treasurer's role was split into two duties, and the second one was the Speaker of the Assembly. And the point I want to make there is historically, back when there were RBCs and the band didn't have a lot of money, the Secretary Treasurer was under and continues to be under band law, responsible for the management of all the finances of the band. And 20 years ago, that was essentially handling the bank account in Onamia Bank many years ago in the 70s and the early 80s. Okay, and that was that person's job, and the band had $1 million or something like that, okay? The total budget was very small back then, and that was the Secretary Treasurer's role. Now, as I've told a lot of folks, as I came up to speed in this job and realizing the scope of this, is that when you fast forward the 25, 30 years, the band has sizable investments. And the laws really haven't changed, okay? And the Secretary of Treasurer is still responsible under band law for the management of those funds. And the internal controls that are needed to account for those monies isn't there in statute. And that's the purpose of this investment board. Cities and counties and governments have these investment boards in place. The purpose of the investment board is to give that continuity in the management of those funds. And that was like the purpose of, in the state of the band last January, the Assembly authorized the making the number of employees in the legislative branch permanent, and that's to help with the turnover with the change of power. Okay, typically over the last 20-25 years, there was always a change in power due to the election process. Okay, and the investments always had new people who had to come up to speed on investments, or at least realize those investments. What I found was we didn't have those internal controls and to account, to be responsible for the people's money. Okay, that's the point of the investment board. Okay, and that draft legislation is out there. Now let me get to the role of the Secretary Treasurer and the Speaker of the Assembly. Now, the Speaker of the Assembly, specifically in that capacity, is geared towards lawmaking and the appropriation of funds. Now, as the head of the band assembly, in sessions of band assembly, And by rule, the Speaker of the Assembly doesn't have any input, simply runs the meeting, simply manages the process. The band assembly members, the 3 representatives and the chief executive, those folks spend the money. Those folks make law. It's a total separation of power, if you will, okay? With the duties of the Secretary-Treasurer are immense in relation to the size of the investments that the band has, okay? And the monies that you get, and I'll use an example of this most recent monies that were dispersed for the month of September. There was an additional $500 put in there, and that's the work of the 3 reps in collaboration with the chief executive. Of the many things that they consider in their capacity as the assembly, they decided to put $400 or $500 additional into everyone's disbursement this month to help with school clothes and things like that. And so you can certainly thank the assembly body as a whole and the chief executive for concurring. That whole process is separate and apart from the Secretary-Treasurer, okay? The Secretary-Treasurer, in the way I've seen things work and the way I've interpreted the laws in my time here, the Secretary-Treasurer manages that stuff and will needs those tools under law to, we're trying to establish this investment board statute to account for the changes in power. And once we get this in place, there will be a permanent investment board, which under the draft, okay, where the Secretary-Treasurer will chair that board. And that board will cycle through the Secretary-Treasurers as moving forward. And we'll be able to have the internal controls and the reporting processes internal to the band, which there currently isn't any. Okay, we're going to fix that. Okay, so let me close on that and just a bit of an informational piece to the membership about the role of the Secretary-Treasurer and the split duties of the Speaker of the Assembly. Thank you very much.